and welcome to This Week in Cultural Appropriation. Last week we talked about high art, and this week we're going to talk about comic book art, because I love my comic books, so yes I do. Marvel has come out with some new covers that are hip-hop variants. Like, they've got like a De La Soul hip-hop cover, but then they got rid of De La Soul and they replaced them with the X-Men. That's fun, right? Maybe not. The first I heard about this was some other artists blogging about the fact that they'd actually already been doing hip-hop covers, and they felt like Marvel was copying them. And of course, Marvel is making a bunch of money off of this because they're Marvel. So that's complicated. Then I read another article by Michelin? Anyway, she did some fierce commentary, and she actually dropped some language around cultural appropriation and the differences between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation, and why she felt like this was specifically cultural appropriation. I just want to quote from her really quick. This is all to say that hip-hop, that blackness is absolutely fine as a means to sell Marvel's comics. But that is, by and large, as far as black people get, and definitely as far as I, a black woman, am going to get. They can use our likenesses and styles on the covers, but the hell they seem to want us in their board meetings, on their editorial staff, or making their comics. And I just imagine she was like dropping mics the entire time she was writing this stuff. Then I read another article that was in The Guardian. Marvel's hip-hop tribute embraces black metaphors but excludes black people. While rappers have drawn on superhero imagery, Marvel hasn't returned the compliment. The comics and the company's creators are overwhelmingly white. That accent is overwhelmingly bad, isn't it? It doesn't matter that I have seen lots of Doctor Who and that I've gone to England and that some of my best friends are English. That doesn't matter. And was it really necessary, even though the source material is British, was it necessary for me to try and do some kind of weird performative faux British whiteness? Was that a necessary thing? I think that's a really good question. So the third article that I read was by Shackhouse. It was on Action A Go-Go. And he was making the point that he actually thinks that the first writer that was writing on Women Write About Comics was just being sort of paranoid and hyperbolically angry, and that, you know, it wasn't a black thing. Like, hip-hop isn't a black thing, and also this wasn't about cultural appropriation, even though it was about Marvel trying to get paid. He acknowledges that. But he says, hey, there are black characters in Marvel. Like, there's Storm, and Sam. He's Captain America's friend, Falcon. So there you go, argument. At the beginning of his article, he talks about how in the mid-90s, characters black characters were often written by white writers and artists. And how he had noticed that in the mid-90s, they wrote them with a lack of, the character dialogue was proper. That's what he says, for lack of a better expression. He gave a proviso after that. And he just talks about how, you know, he missed some of the characters having African-American English or phonetics, which forced me to do a little research. So I went into my library here that has way too many books because I spent way too much money on these comics. And I found, oh my gosh, Luke Cage. This is the Essential Power Man. This is like the first one in 1972, I think. And this is when they weren't afraid to write in phonetics. Me and, that's an apostrophe, the brothers were hoping you'd be out, man, planning a little demonstration to set this new warning straight. A lot of dudes in this dump think you're something, Lucas. Shades needs you in to get them with us. Maybe, spelled M-E-B-B-E, you need a little surgery to cut that tongue away from your soul. Overwhelmingly, I don't know. Kind of just reminds me of that thing of blackface. I'm like, how is this different from blackface? The white writers are writing and drawing the character and making him act kind of black, but it's not an actual blackness. It's this imaginary blackness that the writer made up in their head. And, it's not like I'm saying white people shouldn't be allowed to write black characters, ever. But if you don't have any black people working for you, or if you have like some insane margin where it's like one black person and everybody else is white, you have a demographics problem. You have a problem because you're going to be writing things that are misrepresenting the community that you're actually trying to sell to. So maybe, Marvel should hire some black artists so they aren't making garbage that nobody wants to buy and forcing wonderful women to act hyperbolically angry. But what am I talking about? Some of us are never going to agree.